Once upon a time, there was a beautiful young woman named Grace. She lived in a small cottage by the sea and spent her days writing love stories and poems. Grace had always dreamed of finding her own happily ever after, but she had yet to find the right person to share it with.
One night, as she was sitting by the fire reading a romance novel, she heard a knock at the door. When she opened it, she found a handsome young man named James standing on her doorstep. He was soaking wet from the rain and shivering from the cold. Grace invited him inside and offered him a warm drink. As James sipped on his hot cocoa, he told Grace that he was a sailor and that he had been lost at sea for days. He had finally stumbled upon her cottage and was grateful for her kindness. Grace listened to his stories of adventure and romance and felt a strong connection with him. As the night went on, Grace and James grew closer and closer. They talked about their hopes, dreams, and fears, and soon found that they had much in common. Before they knew it, the sun was starting to rise and they both realized that they had been talking for hours. Exhausted from their late-night conversation, Grace and James decided to get some rest. Grace led James to a guest room, where he could sleep comfortably, and she went to her own room. However, as she lay in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about James and the connection she felt with him. Eventually, Grace made her way back to the guest room and quietly climbed into bed beside James. He wrapped his arms around her and pulled her close, and she felt a warmth in her heart that she had never felt before. They both drifted off to sleep, entwined in each other's embrace. The next morning, Grace and James woke up to the sound of birds chirping and the sun shining through the window. They both felt a deep sense of happiness and contentment, as if they had finally found their missing piece. Over the next few days, Grace and James spent all their time together, exploring the countryside, sharing their stories, and falling more in love with each other every moment. They walked hand in hand along the beach, watching the waves crash against the shore, and lay in the sun, soaking up its warmth. One night, as they sat by the fire, James took Grace's hand and looked into her eyes. He told her that he had never felt this way before, and that he loved her more than anything in the world. Grace felt tears of joy stream down her face as she told James that she loved him too. From that moment on, Grace and James were inseparable. They built a life together, full of love and adventure, and they were the happiest they had ever been. They lived in their cottage by the sea, surrounded by love, and they never forgot the magical night when they first met. Years went by, and Grace and James grew old together. They still looked into each other's eyes with the same love and passion that they had on the night they first met. And as they drifted off to sleep each night, entwined in each other's embrace, they knew that they had found their happily ever after.